Hey boss? Oh yes, Johnson. What can I do for you? I was wondering if I could schedule my sick day for November 19th. A scheduled sick day? What, do you know you're gonna have the flu or something? No, nothing like that. It's just a game that I really like is coming out. A game? The hell do you mean, like a video game? Well, it's this game that I've been waiting on for like 8 years and it's supposed to be— You know what? Forget it. I'll let you off the hook this time. But if you pull a stunt like this again, you can kiss your desk goodbye. Got it? Thank you, boss. It won't happen again, I promise. 2020 has been a rough ass year. Everyone, myself included, has been affected by the pandemic in one way or another. My graduating class and I didn't get any of the senior activities we'd been looking forward to our entire 4 years of high school. And aside from personal setbacks, companies took hits left and right as well. Going into lockdown was the equivalent of entering a maze blindfolded. No one knew when restrictions would be lifted, how it would affect work and school, or if they even had enough toilet paper to survive the next 2 weeks. This of course caused many games to be delayed. How could anyone work when they couldn't even wipe themselves properly? As lockdown dragged on, we continued to receive news about multiple games being delayed. Big name companies like Naughty Dog and 343 Industries came forward saying that their next AAA titles would have to be put on hold due to complications with COVID-19. And one of the most anticipated titles of the year, Cyberpunk 2077, was heavily impacted as well. Speaking of impact, please slam that like button so that this video will show up on more people's recommended. It's not that hard, and you'll feel real good after you do it. Trust me. Just try it, I'm serious. You'll feel real good. Feel good yet? What did I tell you? Alright, let's jump back into the video. So what makes Cyberpunk's delays different from that of, say, Last of Us Part 2 or Halo Infinite? To answer that question, let's look at the timeline for all of the delays that Cyberpunk went through. The original release date was set for April of 2020 after being shown off at E3 2019.
You're breathtaking!
The first delay was announced in January of 2020, with CD Projekt Red pushing the launch date back to September 17th, 2020. Now this is a perfectly acceptable delay, as we all know that Cyberpunk is going to be a massive game. While it would be nice to have the game at the expected date, it wasn't the end of the world for most people. And it's always better to have a finished game later than a rushed game earlier. Next, we get to the second delay, or as I like to call it, the Rona delay. In June of 2020, CD Projekt Red pushed the release date back yet again to November 19th, 2020. Of course, due to the lockdown that occurred 4 months prior, it was no surprise that Cyberpunk would have to be put on hold yet again. With everyone having to work from home, production no doubt slowed down as workers got adjusted to their new environments. However, the problem begins when we get to the third delay. Keep in mind, this is the third time that this game has been delayed at this point, so we have been blue-balled not once, not twice, but 3 times for this game. The last delay, and what we assume will be the final delay, was announced in October of 2020, pushing the final release date back 1 more month to December 10th. CD Projekt Red announced that the reason for this delay was, quote, shipping the game on current gen, next gen, and PC at the same time, which requires us to prepare and test 9 versions of it. Now don't get me wrong, this could be a valid reason, but I don't think that the team at CD Projekt Red was wrong with their original set date. Hear me out. Cyberpunk was delayed twice already, both of which we assume couldn't be avoided. However, on the second delay, the development team already knew the rate at which their team could work. At the time of that delay, we had been in lockdown for 4 months already, so the prediction of their new release date would have to have been pretty accurate. They shouldn't have needed a third delay, but we got one anyways. And the reasoning for this final delay just doesn't sit all that well with me, to be honest. CD Projekt Red knew that the next-gen consoles were going to be released before their drop of Cyberpunk, meaning that this wasn't just some simple oversight. Looking at it from a consumer standpoint, a delay is never good. This makes people have to wait longer for your game to come out, and more waiting means more time for people to be mad about not playing your game. However, the marketing team at CD Projekt Red is no joke. They know what they're doing. Take E3 2019 for example. What immediately comes to mind when thinking about last year's E3? I don't know about you guys, but all I can picture is Big Daddy Keanu Reeves chunk his wholesome 100 Reddit moment telling me to buy Cyberpunk when it comes out. And the general interest reflects this mentality as well. Let's look at Cyberpunk's popularity versus, say, Final Fantasy VII Remake's popularity, which is totally awesome by the way, after the E3 conference. By comparing the two on Google Trends, we can see that Cyberpunk's popularity was more than double that of Final Fantasy VII's popularity at the time of the conference. Another example of this is Breath of the Wild 2, which was announced at E3 2019. The announcement that Breath of the Wild, GDCA's Game of the Year, was getting a sequel was less interesting to people than Keanu Reeves' presentation about Cyberpunk. As little as that difference is, it's an amazing feat for Cyberpunk, which had no previous game to hype it up, let alone a game as prestigious as Breath of the Wild. So obviously the marketing team at CD Projekt Red knows how to make people excited for their game. That's why when I say that Cyberpunk's third delay was planned, the pieces start falling into place. If you take a look at the trends for this year, you'll see that every time Cyberpunk got delayed, the interest doubled from their last announcement. By looking at this data, CD Projekt Red must have realized that they were generating a lot of attention with every delay. Why not tack on one last small delay to drum up interest once more? Yeah, negative press might come out. I mean, who wants to hear about delays? But any attention, even negative attention, is still attention. The bad opinions on CD Projekt Red will still be read. The videos bashing on the development team will still be watched. And more people reading and watching means more people knowing about the game and are now ready for the eventual release date. And while I'm not an expert on marketing by any means, I do know firsthand about this approach. Take my last video for example. I provided a very controversial take on the new Hyrule Warriors game, Age of Calamity. And while it was my most disliked video, it also had more views and watch time than both of the other videos on my channel combined. Now I'm not saying that I did this intentionally, it just happened that I had a different take than the majority and decided to share it with people. But the views are there, the watch time is there, and numbers are something you can't argue with. Now let's look at the effects this last delay had on the general interest. By announcing one more delay, Cyberpunk was able to double its last highest peak searches for this year, and that is huge for CD Projekt Red. By pushing the game back only 21 days, they were able to drum up more attention than any trailer or conference had in the entire year. Like I said, whether the context was good or bad, that's still people getting invested in their game. And again, the numbers don't lie. Yeah, this is all speculation. Maybe CD Projekt Red did miscalculate the time they needed in order to get their game out by November. Maybe the copies for the next gen consoles really were buggy and they had to fix them. Was this all planned or just an honest mistake? We'll never know for sure, but I don't think that the development team for Cyberpunk was so naive as to mistime their release date 3 times. The team that pulled out all the stops and brought out Keanu Reeves for their E3 presentation had to have delayed their game one last time with a plan in mind. The big brains over at CD Projekt Red knew exactly how to market their game. It's impressive. And intentional or not, the hype around Cyberpunk 2077 has never been bigger. Millions of people, myself included, can't wait to dig into what is looking to possibly be the biggest game of this year. Huge thank you to everyone who watched this video. Cyberpunk is just days away from being released, so make sure you guys grab a copy once it drops. Let me know what you guys think about my theory in the comments. As always, I'll be replying to each comment, so don't be shy with sharing your thoughts. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.